The hum of medical machines filled room 407. It was a rhythm that most nurses had grown numb to, but not Emily Carter. She walked in with the same care and respect she showed all her patients, even those who hadn't spoken or moved in months. The man in the bed, Richard Grayson, tech billionaire turned coma patient, lay utterly still, his once vibrant face pale and expressionless. But Emily didn't see a billionaire. She saw a man who once lived, laughed, maybe loved. A man who had become another lost soul in a hospital wing many referred to as the forgotten floor. Every morning at 6:30 a.m. she walked in, pulled back the curtains, greeted him cheerfully, and said, "Good morning, Mr. Grayson. You're not alone today." She filled the room with conversation, sometimes about hospital gossip, sometimes about the weather, and other times stories about her childhood in a small town 2 states away. And as she bathed him, careful and gentle, she would often hum songs. Her mother's favorite lullabies. She never expected him to hear them, but they made the space feel human, warm. Emily was only 26, but carried the weight of someone twice her age. Her father, a mechanic, died suddenly when she was 17, leaving behind a grieving wife and 3 children. Emily had been the eldest. Instead of collapsing under pressure, she rose, taking evening jobs, studying hard, earning a scholarship to nursing school. She had dreams of becoming a trauma nurse in a big city, but after graduation, she chose this modest hospital instead. Why? Because here, patients weren't just cases. They were people who often had no visitors, no hope, and no family. Anyone can work in a shiny clinic. She once said, "But I want to be where kindness is rare and needed." Nurses came and went from room 407, fulfilling their duties. Some grew uncomfortable being around a man who might never wake up. But Emily stayed. She talked to Richard, told him about her brother's baseball games, her mom's stubborn garden, and the time she spilled coffee on a doctor's lap. She even printed out an old jazz playlist when she learned Richard had loved the genre. And as she bathed him each morning, Autumn Leaves or Blue and Green would play softly in the background. She didn't do it for thanks. She did it because it felt right. It was a cold, rainy Tuesday morning, the kind that made everything feel gray. Emily yawned as she stepped into room 407 with warm towels and fresh linens. The lights flickered slightly from the storm outside. She started her routine as always. "Well, Mr. Grayson," she said, "the cafeteria's chicken soup still tastes like cardboard, and Nurse Rita's back from vacation with a tan that makes her look like a traffic cone." She chuckled softly to herself as she dipped the cloth into warm water. As she began wiping his right hand, she hummed a soft melody, her mother's lullaby. It was automatic now, a part of the ritual. Her hand paused briefly as she felt something. She looked again. It happened, a small movement. Maybe just a nerve reflex, she thought. Those weren't uncommon. But then, it happened again, a definite squeeze. Emily's eyes widened. "Mr. Grayson," she whispered, leaning closer. Suddenly, he blinked. Once, twice. Then came a rasping, barely audible whisper. "You're the one who sings." Her heart stopped. A second later, she hit the emergency call button. Nurses and doctors flooded the room, but Richard's eyes, weary, glassy, remained fixed on hers. He remembered. As tears welled in her eyes, Emily realized. He had heard everything, the stories, the songs, the humanity she poured into every silent moment. In the following weeks, Richard began his slow but remarkable recovery. His motor functions were weak, but his mind was lucid. Doctors called it a miracle, but Richard called it something else. He asked to speak with Emily alone. When she entered the room, now brighter and filled with get-well cards and flowers, he smiled weakly. "I owe you everything," he said. "You don't owe me anything," Emily replied, holding his hand. "No, you don't understand," he said. "I was trapped. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, but I could hear you, your stories. They reminded me of life. Your voice was the only light in a very long tunnel." He paused, emotion tightening his voice. Everyone else treated me like I was already gone, but you didn't. You treated me like a person. Emily wiped away a tear, speechless. You didn't just clean my skin, he added. You healed something deeper. You gave me a reason to come back. She smiled, overwhelmed. All the long nights, the silent songs, the small kindnesses, they hadn't gone unnoticed. 6 months later, Emily received a mysterious invitation to a hospital fundraising gala. She wasn't planning to attend, she didn't own a fancy dress, and she certainly wasn't used to galas. But something urged her to go. As she stood in the back of the grand ballroom, she was awestruck by the lights, the elegant guests, and the live jazz band playing softly. Then the MC stepped onto the stage. Tonight, he said, we honor a man who faced death and came back, and with him we celebrate someone whose kindness changed a life. Richard Grayson walked on stage, stronger, with a cane but standing tall. While I was in a coma, he began, I wasn't gone. I was lost in silence until one voice reached me. He looked out across the crowd and smiled. That voice belonged to a young nurse. She didn't know who I was. She didn't care. She just cared that I was human. He turned and the lights focused on Emily. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the opening of the Emily Carter Compassion Center, a new wing for long-term care, dedicated to the unsung heroes who bring life back with love, not fame. Gasps and applause filled the hall. Emily stood frozen. Someone nudged her gently toward the stage. As she walked up, eyes misty, Richard whispered, "The world needs to know your kind of love exists." She didn't say much, just a few humble words of gratitude. But in that moment, surrounded by cheers, Emily felt something deeper than pride. She felt purpose. Not every act of kindness is loud. Not every healer wears a cape. Sometimes, the quietest voices echo the loudest in someone's darkest hour. Emily Carter thought she was just doing her job. But her compassion, pure, patient, and consistent, was the spark that reignited a man's will to live. And in a world that often forgets the value of humanity, she reminded us all, kindness doesn't just change lives. Sometimes it brings them back.